Uh, Assalamu alaikum. We begin Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah. Wa ashhadu anna muhammadan for this live. I had planned to go on earlier, but then I just pushed it back. I knew I had some things to take care of today during the day, but I wanted to ensure that I was on tonight, continuing a discussion under the general topic of the Quran in society, the Quran in society. And what I have prepared, or what I have in mind today as an overall topic, is the moral dilemma of America, the moral dilemma of the United States of America. And what I want to do is really get right into it. I don't want to be long. I just want to address this topic to a sufficient degree, or to a degree that offers food for thought to you all who benefit from our channel. And always, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, like the channel, and share this with others. And we appreciate you all support. We have members. You can join the membership now. We have people who've been in support, and it really helps. We appreciate that because it helps us continue in the doing of this work that we have been in the process of doing for some time now. So this topic, America's moral dilemma. As I mentioned, we are in a very special time. And even when we watch what is occurring in the news media now, we are really seeing evidence of the fact that the times ahead of us may be very trying. And this is something that I think most of us are able to register. Most of us have registered this much. I want to start off by making a few comments, though, regarding the perspective that I have this perspective, and I am sensitive to the fact that many others who I consider as colleagues and community members, or members of a shared experience, we also have a very similar experience. Not all from the background that we come from, that I come from, and I'm speaking specifically as a Muslim who's from the African American experience. I'm sensitive to the fact that, especially I would say among some younger members, they're younger people. I think we all go through it. We're in a stage where we tend to be forming our identity. We're forming our perception of the world, and we just see things a certain type of way. And then also others who are not necessarily from the they're Muslim, but they're not from the African American experience. They see things differently. And I'm not saying I represent all of this certain group, but I do believe, from my experience as a leader and as a representative of my community, that I represent a significant amount of persons in terms of this focus that I'm about to speak from, which is simply this: first and foremost, our people, the African American people, we are a people that have formed here. Our life as a people has formed here, even before we became Muslim. Islam is our religion. Al-Islam is our life. It's non-negotiable. We stand upon the religion of Al-Islam, and we have embraced it, and we see ourselves in the process of growing in terms of Islamic life, Islamic knowledge, etc. That being the case, it also has to be connected to the fact that we are American, African American, which essentially is America. Because the African American population, or the African American people, have very deep roots on this soil. Very, very deep roots on this soil. And the deep roots on this soil is not only to be appreciated or understood from the perspective of just history. Like, most people are aware of the civil rights movement. Obviously, people are aware of Jim Crow. People are aware of slavery, so on and so forth. These things are realities for the African American population, yes. But when I say deep roots, another way that I can term this is that the African American life expression, the expression of our lives, is really interwoven into the very fabric of America. For example, the dominant trends in popular culture today and historically in this society have come from the forms of spiritual expression of black people, That's one example. That's in culture. Another example is that the progress for matters pertaining to freedom, dignity, respect, the advance of the appreciation of the human value that the founders of this nation have claimed. We know that they did not live up to what they claimed, but the gradual push for, at least on the books, on the paperwork, for this nation, as Dr. King said, to live out the true meaning of its creed. We are sensitive to the fact that it has been members of our community, the African American community. It has been the blood, it has been the tears, it has been the prayers, it has been the sacrifices, it has been the belief of those who come from our experience, who have been in the forefront of pushing America to become that which it claimed it was at the outset or the founding of this nation. And it's still not there. It's still not there yet. It's not a perfect union. But because of that history, many from the African American experience in general, and then particularly many of us from the Muslim African American experience, when we come into Islam and as we grow into Al-Islam, it does not instill in us, or it does not give birth to a consciousness or to a thought process that tells us that we are now to separate ourselves from America in general, or the African American people, or the struggle of the African American people in particular. In other words, as a Muslim, I recognize, and I said I'm speaking for myself, but I know at the same time, I know many others who feel this way from the Black Muslim or African American Muslim experience. As a Muslim, I recognize America as my home, H-O-M-E. And our position is that for Muslims in America in general, who are not African American, our position or our recommendation is that we all come to the acceptance. If we're going to be here, we have to come to the acceptance that the United States of America is our home. There exists what I consider to be a very poisonous influence in our society. It exists among Black Americans, not Muslims, but just African Americans. It exists among us, and the same influence exists among Muslims too. It's subtle sometimes, and sometimes it's very direct. But the influence is ordered to, or it's aimed at the outcome that we not see ourselves as members of this society. The language is given, for example, in some Black conscious circles, and we hear it among, again, some Muslim circles too, that America is nothing more than an empire. And as an empire, the empire will fall, and the fall of the empire is coming. It's imminent. And the language goes so far as to simply say, it's almost as if those who are speaking in this manner, they are anticipating the fall of the empire, and they will celebrate when the empire falls. While I understand, or I believe I understand, the premise upon which certain positions are taken, this particular position is being taken. At the same time, as a Muslim, my religion, my spirituality, my intellect as a Muslim man, as a servant of Allah, as a follower of Muhammad the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it forces me to be sensitive to more than just the black and white terms of anything. Meaning, to get straight to the point, if I'm aware of the fact that if this society as an empire falls, when it does fall, it will collapse on the heads of those who are most vulnerable. And historically, those who have been most vulnerable and more susceptible to the negative changes for this society have been my people. So while on the one hand, we see this place as our home, on the other hand, we have because it is our home, we have a vested interest in not seeing it fall. Some people say, I've heard it said, well, we don't have to live here. We can get our passports and we can, I think I was watching something today with about 50 plus people in Ghana. They got their dual citizenship, and this is a thing. I think I just saw something. I don't know if it's true or not. Italy is offering certain areas of Italy. You can buy a home for $1. And I saw another thing that said the applications for passports went up after the Trump presidency and all of that. I'm not judging. People can do what they want to do. But what I do know, again, from my awareness as a person who has worked with human beings nationwide for almost 2 decades, everybody's not able to do that. When we compare when we look at ourselves, like I am able to do that. If I wanted to, I could leave the country. But I have family members, I have neighborhood members, I have people who I know from who I call, quote unquote, my people, who they're just not situated to do that. So they're not in a good position if the empire were to fall, and they're not in a situation where they can just get up and leave. And at the same time, I'm repeating this fact. We recognize and we suggest that we all come to the recognition that this nation is our home, because we cannot be successful anywhere on this planet Earth. We cannot be successful in terms of progressing our life, not as individuals. Individuals can go anywhere and be successful. Individuals can make a way for themselves anywhere. But I'm talking about now the group focus, the collective focus. Yadullah ala al-jama'a. The hand of God is on the group, is on the many. And the heart of the Muslim, when our Prophet, praise and peace be upon him, when he went into the cave searching for answers, he was not searching just for his own self. He was searching, he was crying, he was straining in the dark because he wanted answers to liberate the people from their abject condition. And that's our leader. That's our first leader in Islam, our Prophet, praise and peace be upon him. So I'm not speaking about the individual. I'm speaking about now the individual who has his heart open for the well-being of the collective body of people. And I repeat, we cannot be successful as a group, as a social group, anywhere on this earth, if we do not recognize to a significant degree that that space that we occupy is our home. In other words, just to use the United States of America for an example, as long as we do not recognize this nation as our home, it is impossible for us to get the maximum benefit of this land. A tree, if it is to grow and if it is to bear fruit, it must first plant itself, it must root itself in the soil. Now, let me make something very, very clear in case there was any confusion, or I don't want any confusion to rise. Accepting the United States of America as our home, accepting the fact that we are Muslims and we are going to make our home here. This is fundamentally different, and this is distinct, and this is not to be conflated with the notion that we should not hold the nation accountable and hold the feet of the nation to the fire in terms of the nation committing infractions of morality, indecency, hypocrisy, so on and so forth. In other words, seeing America as our home is a distinct issue from holding the nation accountable to live up to the standards of excellence, so on and so forth. Our Prophet, praise and peace be upon him, he said, in a sound hadith that if you see a wrong, if you see an oppressive wrong, you first change it with your hands. And if you can't do that, then you speak out against it. And if you're unable to speak out against it, then you at least hate it in your heart. But know that that is the weakest of faith. And I think I mentioned this the other day. The scholars of Islam, they say they know sometimes we're not situated to do all of those things. Sometimes we're not able to change a thing with our hands. It depends upon the circumstance. So some go so far to say the changing with the hands is to be handed over, like the those who fulfill that part of the obligation. It's those who are entrusted with responsibility or leadership for the society, so on and so forth. And there's discussion to be had about that. But the point, the greater point that I'm making is that as Muslims in America, we should be, because of the teachings of our prophet, praise and peace be upon him, in the forefront of addressing all of the hypocrisy, all of the wrongs, all of the moral infractions, the moral corruption that pervades this society, locally and nationally, and also internationally. But understand that the premise upon which I can stand to actually hold this nation accountable, the basis for me being able to do that is the acceptance of the fact that I share in the membership or the citizenship of this society. Therefore, I share in the responsibility to make the nation what it should be. See, you can't have it both ways. You can't wish for the downfall of America and then say, America, you should be better. You can't say, America, you should be better, and at the same time not want to accept responsibility for America, because responsibility is leadership. When a man takes responsibility for a woman, a child, a neighborhood, he's a leader. That's what makes him a father and a husband in the real sense. He's a leader. He's caring for that woman and child. Many of us have married women who already have children, who have already had children from previous marriages or something like that. And the man comes in and he provides whatever direction. He takes on responsibility. That's what qualifies him as a leader. So the more we as Muslims in America accept responsibility for America, the more we become leaders for America. And I repeat, it's contradictory. It doesn't gel that on the one hand, and I'm not saying this is all Muslims, I'm speaking to a specific strand of thought among Muslims and among Black Americans. We still have demagogues in our community who have nothing but bad news to give us, nothing but a bad spirit to communicate to us, but they do not empower and energize the psyche of our people to become a productive force to see to it that this nation advance forward. And that's not the way of Islam, definitely. It's important to understand that Islam as a religion holds as a belief. One of our beliefs is the belief in the judgment, which means that we all will be held personally responsible before our Lord, Allah, highly glorified is He. We will all be held responsible before Him in terms of how we behaved in this life. What this means then, in connection with this broader discussion that we're having, is that if we are to change our society, if we are to change our nation, if we are to qualify for more responsibility, and consequently, if we're to qualify for more leadership over these United States, we have to first change ourselves. And we first change ourselves, as we mentioned yesterday, in our own hearts, in our own intentions, in our own minds, in our own homes, in our own environments. I have seen this, and I said this on a recording, and I'm going to repeat this. I have seen this my whole career. We want to go on the front line and challenge the system. We want to critique the system. We want to bring down the system. Burn, baby, burn. I heard a Muslim tell me recently. But you don't even respect your wife. You don't even respect your husband. You don't even respect the living space that Allah blessed you with. You don't even respect your teeth. You don't wake up and just brush your teeth like our prophet taught us to do. And I'm being, it'll bring a chuckle. It'll bring on a chuckle, some of these things, but this is actual fact. Because when we come before Allah in the judgment, Allah is not going to question the first thing. Pardon me, let me backtrack. We have heard sound hadith. We know about its description in the Quran. The first thing that Allah will question us on is how we behaved as free, independent, or free with certain limitation, moral agents, moral actors. How did we serve our Lord? That's the first level to qualify for any real change. First, change yourself. That's the non-negotiable to lead. First, lead yourself. That's the non-negotiable to be responsible. First, be responsible for yourself. That's the non-negotiable to really have a critique of the reality of this world. First, start by critiquing yourself. Because Allah even says in the judgment that the shaitan, the Satan himself, will say, when the matter is decided, I had no authority over you. I only invited and you responded to the invitation. And our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was already excellent. He was already the best of people in terms of what we would consider to be his personal responsibilities. I'm not speaking like mukallaf, like Islam wasn't revealed yet, but I'm speaking of a man of decency, respect for the poor, good character, honesty, maintaining a living space, keeping it clean, doing good business. Because he had managed the functions of his own individual humanity, that is what qualified him to be an excellent vessel to receive the weighty word by which he would do the greater responsibility of reforming a world that was in the dark. Well, this is Allah's sunnah. He never changes his sunnah. The best of the leaders, the best of the ones who are able to help us advance the world, they have to first stand up within the throne of their own selves. So we want to look at the obligation that we have over ourselves, our homes, our neighborhoods, and eventually society as a whole. And I repeat, our acceptance of this nation as our home, our planting roots here, it does not separate us from the obligation to hold the society accountable in the face of all of its wrongs. On the contrary, we have a greater right to do so because we have claimed or we have accepted this space as our home. Now, it's important to understand that the biggest issue facing this nation, the United States of America, and I would go so far as to say the biggest problem facing the Western world is the problem of moral conscience and the problem of moral authority. From the perspective of the Quran, and this has been verified by the scholars of history, those who study history, not just Muslims, I'm speaking of those who just write books on history. The collapse of any nation occurs when the people lose, number one, a sense of authority over their lives. Meaning a sense of authority, not only them as individuals, not even necessarily them as a society, but a sense of an authority over this whole world. And alongside that, a sense of or the loss of a sense of authority is also the loss of an awareness of standards of decency that extend from the self to the home. So what do we see in American society? I go on TikTok every day, purposefully. I go on YouTube every day. I watch the videos. I see what comes out. And what we are bearing witness to, we are seeing an environment We are experiencing a public that does not live, that is not motivated by an awareness of an authority above our lives. And as a consequence, they are not existing with any sense or any standards of decency that govern how they behave, male and female. So they dress however they like. They talk, they speak the language, the foul language. They speak however they like. They have nothing governing them, informing them to bring them along the path of ascent into a higher sense of humanity and worth and value. That's not, we don't see that in the popular culture. And we have to admit, as we've said before, we have to acknowledge that it's impossible to not see that if you live in this nation, popular culture is the most pervasive influence on the life of the American public. But popular culture as it exists does not acknowledge a moral authority, and it does not communicate to those who feed upon it any sense of moral conscience. On the contrary, this culture is designed to sensationalize and commercialize every aspect of our lives to such a degree, to such an extent, that we have almost lost a real sense of the meaning of sacred. Even the word moral doesn't mean much anymore to the average person. The word sacred, divine, spiritual. People say, "Oh, I'm spiritual." They really don't know what that means anymore, because the culture has been so pervasive, and the culture has been designed to sensationalize everything. Everything is designed to reach us in our sentiments. Everything has been, or almost everything, has been designed to bypass our rational functions and reach us in those regions, what they call the reptilian brain, the more primitive regions of our biological makeup, our psychological makeup, our reflex behavior, our response behavior, the language and the influence being communicated by popular culture has been designed to reach us in those regions and show nothing but utter disrespect for the rational capacity and potential of man. And the reason why we have been sensationalized is to commercialize us. Our whole life is measured by our value to the marketplace. In the absence of moral authority, meaning an authority above this world that determines the standards by which we should live up to, in absence of the moral authority, above these artificial constructs of man's temporal philosophies, his temporal objectives, such as his geopolitical objectives, his economic objectives, his economic agenda. These are man's artificial constructs that he designs and he establishes as the standard for his world. If our sense of authority in general, and particularly if our sense of moral authority does not rise above these artificial constructs, then the stage is set for our whole life to be subjected to the rise of false deities, false gods. Though these false deities are already present, as time has passed, they have become more and more pervasive. And consequently, the public becomes more and more separated from their real humanity. And in time, the public becomes the living dead. The living dead. So people, it's actually a joke. I've seen these jokes on social media. They say, well, look at the music these young children listen to. But my parents, who were born in the 50s, grew up in the 60s and 70s, their music was terrible. I was listening to Juicy Fruit the other day. You're so juicy. And you all know those words. I don't have to go over those words. Candy rain coming down. All of that stuff was filthy. Sex machine. The Funkadelic was all about their language was, why must I feel like that? Why must the dog chase the cat? Now, what we had was still remnants of a time of Southern people who came from Southern values, Southern tradition. In the 50s, in at least the early 60s, there was still a time where, you know, God was respected in the public. But even then, those old nasty Ray Charles songs, nice songs from the perspective of just sound. But that song, even on that was popular on Bill Cosby, you know, the right time, the nighttime is the right time to be with the one you love. And then not to mention the one where he was moaning. So what am I saying? These deities, these false deities of culture, these false deities of wicked influence, they're subtle. And you know that Allah, he actually says this in the Quran. He says the Iblis gradually led Adam astray. He didn't do it all at once. He gradually led him astray. So what am I saying? Generation after generation, more and more influence. If you accept Sex Machine, sexual healing, I think that's Marvin Gaye, sexual healing. If you accept that, then you know those people who grew up listening to NWA, Straight Outta Compton, F the Police, their mama was impregnant to Sex Machine or to, what you call that song, sexual healing. So that influence, believe me, they study this now. These influences from the environment go into the actual biology of people, go into the sperm, go into the egg, what we call the life germ. Don't think that the energy, that the spirit from those influences don't go into the children. And then that child, he grows up to Straight Outta Compton, and he makes a baby to when he impregnates his woman, he's playing Bump and Grind by R. Kelly. And it gets worse and worse and worse. So now you look at the song today, the song is just, the music today is just, it has no redeemable value. At least back in those times with Juicy Fruit, there was instruments being played. Then you fast forward, at least some of these rappers had some sense of social conscience. Even a man like Tupac, now it's nothing. The rapper is the dope head who snorts cocaine and has HIV, and he's rapping to our children. But the point that I'm making, just like we're in fall season now, and the process of decay or withering is coming about, this is what happens with culture over generations. And in time, what we end up with is the living dead. When Ibrahim alayhi salam, when he was arguing with the oppressive ruler, this is in Surah Al-Baqarah, in one of the responses that's given, the oppressive ruler told him, some of the scholars say it's Nimrod, but that's history, you know, as they wrote it, like Tabari and others, but there's no real evidence for that. In the Bible, Abraham gets into an argument with the Pharaoh at that time. But the important issue is that the man said, Abraham told him, or Ibrahim alayhi salam, my Lord gives life and causes death. And the response of the oppressive ruler was, I give life and I give death. Now, what is he referring to? He knew that he didn't make all of these people that's living in his society. And if he was saying, I can make babies by saying I give life, how was that any different from a roach? Roaches make babies. Because the life, and I'm just going to skip, but just think about it, that's food for thought. But the life and death, going all the way back to Adam and all the way to the end of the world, the phenomena of the physical life and death of the human being is also a sign of the life and death of the more important entity that uses the flesh body as the vehicle, which is, that's the soul. That's the soul. In other words, a man can be biologically living, but spiritually dead. To be spiritually dead and to be mentally dead implies that one is consumed by immorality, that's spiritual death, the death of morality, the death of the death of moral decency, the death of moral sentiments. Mentally dead implies the death of understanding or ignorance. So Allah says, for example, in the Quran, is he who is dead so that we gave him a light by which he walks amongst the people. So this is one of the verses in the Quran that establishes that to be living and to be dead is more than just the life and death of the physical body. Allah also says in the Quran to those companions and those who look at the wisdom of it, we extend it to us. Respond to Allah in his messenger when he calls you to that which gives you life. So life and death of the physical body is actually physically true. We know that. We don't have to be proven that. That's a part of our lived experience, not just for humans, but for living things, period. But that life and death is also a sign of the life and death of the spirituality of the people. And the death of the spirituality of the people has everything to do with their moral death, meaning they're given over to moral indecency, moral corruption. And really what follows moral indecency, what follows moral corruption is also the corruption and the corrosion of the intelligent functions of the brain. So by one reading then, this oppressive ruler was saying the same thing that they have said down through time. I regulate the spirituality of my subjects. If the culture signals to them to become barbarians, they become barbarians. I lead them in that direction. And if the culture signals to them to return to their sane, sound, decent minds, they do that. I regulate them. So he saw himself, as Pharaoh said in another part of the Quran, he said, I know no God for you. This is Pharaoh talking. I know no God for you other than myself. Allah is the one who regulates the life and death in actuality, but this oppressive one was making that claim. Now understand that in modern American society, the spirituality of the American public is regulated. It's managed. When they told our grandparents, Sex Machine and Juicy Fruit, they were changing us the season. They were putting something in their spirituality that wasn't in the spirituality of those people before. They were signaling, when I say spirituality, I'm talking about a psychology, a thinking and a behavior, a leaning. Our great grandparents weren't sex machines. It doesn't mean they didn't do any wrong, but that wasn't their way to walk out of the house with tattoos all over their body and their butt showing. That wasn't their way. As a matter of fact, in their time, if you dressed that way, they thought you were a prostitute. They've actually told us this. We know this. But now the dress of a prostitute is regular. I'm going outside. Not even anywhere. I'm going outside to sit on the porch. So this is how times have been changed. So that has come about because of influences in the culture that have reached the psychology, meaning the thinking and behavior of people. Therefore, this influence, this society is a society that regulates the spirituality, the psychology of people. In order for what? To what end? In order to feed and in order to give longevity to the marketplace and to satisfy industrial man's dominance appetite, his appetite for dominance. The most recent elections demonstrate this. It's what we see in the culture is only an indication of the state of the soul, or what we see in the public is an indication of the state of the soul. You know, the soul is what registers right and wrong, moral truth from untruth, moral indecency from decency. and what's intelligent and what's not intelligent. So the soul feeds the moral sensitivities of the heart, and it feeds the rational decision-making skill of all of us. And we have entered into a time where people can't even establish in clear terms that a man is this, a woman is that. A family looks like this. This is right, this is wrong. We can't even have a simple discussion anymore. I don't know how many, and and this is not to knock people. So please don't take what I'm saying and the spirit with which I'm saying it as antagonism. Because in Islam, we are forbidden from attacking. We fight only on the defense. But we're in a time now where we have, I forget how many genders there are now. Something that was just taken for granted for millennia. And I know what the anthropologists will do, and I know what these social scientists will do, influenced by anthropology. Oh, they found some people in Papua New Guinea who have a third category or a fourth, and they want to use that to just turn the whole world upside down. No, that doesn't count. In the history of man, you never take the exception as the rule, and you never, even in those societies, those exceptions were seen as deviations from the norm. We are in a time of culture where the deviation becomes the standard. As a matter of fact, there's a woman. She's kind of I don't know the word, but her research is sound, and she is a historian of artwork, and she herself made the discovery, and she's documented this, that when these societies, when these nations were in their infancy and they had a lot of vigor and energy and vitality, obviously, like all civilizations, they would do some form of artwork. The men had great brawn and strength, and they were manly men. But after so many generations of them achieving so much, and they got so cosmopolitan, in time, the men became flimsy and feminine looking in the artwork. And she saw this time and time again throughout various civilizations. And from her study, she was able to see that every time the way the men were depicted, from strong and with much vigor to feminine, basically, the society was on the verge of collapse. So don't think that we're living, the scripture says nothing is new under the sun. This is the same way of societies time and time again. This is the world we live in. So we have one, and I'm just using all of that to really bring this point. One side advocates freedom and respect for human beings, or under the guise of freedom, under the guise of respect for human beings, they drive it to the extreme to whereas there's nothing but disorder and chaos. And what that does, that signals to summon the public to fight back, to go to the other extreme, to promote law and order, to promote discipline. We have to change. We have to fix. Everything has gone upside down. Everything is in chaos. We have to fight this trend. We have to stop the disorder, the disunity. We have to bring things back to the way they were. And then they go to the opposite extreme. One extreme is left, one extreme is right. In scripture, the people of the left are the people that go after the life that's unconscious, that has no laws, that's chaotic. The people of the right try to bring things back into order. But what we must not be fooled by is that both of these, just like I'm using my hands right now, both of these influences are arms belonging to the same organism. These are arms that belong to the same body. This is what we must not be fooled by. And we must not be fooled to believe that the organism that possesses both arms, to drive to the left, to drive to the right, is America in and of itself, as a political construct. This deviant organism uses the American political construct as an instrument to execute its interests. It uses American society as an instrument to play its tune so that it can reach all the nations. And this is what I'm saying. This goes back to my statement at the outset. If we are looking at oppressor versus oppressed, white versus black, we're on stolen land, we're a stolen people. If we stay there, we are playing into, in my opinion, I'm open for evidence to the contrary. I try to always remain open, but understand that there's an interest, there is a vested interest that wants for us to not want to plant roots, to want us to be blowing in the wind, as it were. So let me move forward, because I don't want to go in another direction. The moral dilemma that we face is coming from both sides. And the moral dilemma that we face has reached the highest levels of government. It has reached industry. It's promoted by industry. It has reached the religious establishment. And it has even polluted the sciences. Science that we claim as our objective. It's polluted academia. This moral dilemma, this moral crisis. And this is, so what I'm saying then is that the problem of the moral problem of the United States, and by extension Western culture, is not something that we anticipate, is what we're living in. But I return back to what I said at the outset, that I acknowledge and I stand upon in full strength and acceptance the fact that I am an African American and I am a Muslim. And it was in the context of African American history, as a people cut off from their humanity, we searched for God, and God responded to us with Al-Islam. So when I come into Al-Islam, when I say I'm speaking on behalf of my experience, or those of us who want to claim this experience. That's a whole nother broadcast, because not everyone wants to, and that's fine. But what I'm saying is that in this experience, we as a people cut off from humanity, left in the dark, at the same time we were impressing upon America to live up to the values that it claimed to be the basis and the substance of this nation. We come from that history. And in that history, or in that context, we shaped America. We did. But within that movement, a group of us said we want to be Muslim. And through the Nation of Islam, there were proto-Islamic movements. The Nation of Islam, the transition under Imam Muhammad, that's the dominant strain. There are other strains, but I'm speaking from my experience and what's the dominant strain in the books of history. We came into La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. Now, what does that mean? I'm accepting this space as my home. I am, as a Muslim African American, I am accepting America as my home for all of the reasons we laid out in the beginning. But what I ended up, or what we pointed out, was that it's because America is our home, we not only have the right, we have the obligation to hold the feet of this nation to the fire as it pertains to its moral problems. Muhammad the Prophet, prayers and peace be upon him, he lived in the time of Jahiliyyah. That's the age, that's the description of the time that he was living in, prior to the revelation. And the historians, even of Western tradition, say that the world of Europe, Central Asia, this is what they were in darkness. Meaning, it doesn't mean that they didn't have any culture, they didn't have any religion. It means that they were not able to progress their societies, and they were not able to progress the family of man down the road. They were sort of stagnant and beginning to wither away. So when I look at our circumstance today as a group of Muslims that are authentically here, see, this is what makes us unique. And again, this is not my group is better than your group. My Muslim group is better than your Muslim group. We just have to give this rational analysis. We are the group of Muslims that have been formed here. We are the Muslims who are the products or who have come into Islam, expressed Islam, and established Islam, not because we brought it from somewhere else, not because it came in a box, not because it was imported, but we were here and Allah himself brought it to us. We are the Muslim Americans. Just like our prophet, praise and peace be upon him, he was an Arab. He was from the Quraysh. He lived on the peninsula of Arabia. So when the revelation comes to him in Jahiliyyah Arabia, at that time, it comes just in that context. So I'm saying this to say that the reason why I don't advocate simply leaving the nation or simply championing the downfall of the nation is because just like Muhammad the prophet, praise and peace be upon him, was given a task on this earth by Allah. And the outcome of his work was that he ascended to the leadership of the peninsula. I am convinced that we are, here in America, the Muslims are to rise to the challenge to accept full responsibility for the moral direction, for the intellectual direction, for the human direction of this soil. That doesn't mean there are not other groups that are also working for the common good. That doesn't mean that there are not also other groups that have this interest. But we are a group, me as an individual and those with us, we know that Allah has favored us. God has been with us, and we are not going to get, God has given us a work. We actually have an actual work to do. You know, like when you clock in and this is your job description, Allah has given us a work. And we recognize not just as blacks or African Americans, but as Muslims globally, our work collectively should be the work of Muhammad. Meaning that our work is the work that he left with us. Meaning by extension, when the people of the world, because this is given in the Quran, that you be witnesses to mankind and the prophet or the messenger be a witness to you. So when they look at us, they should be seeing the manifestation of Muhammad. They should be seeing the work of Muhammad. They should be seeing the values of Muhammad. They should be seeing a people imbued with the reality, what they call the philosophers or the spiritual philosophers, the Muhammadan reality expressing through these people who claim al-Islam. And I repeat what I said earlier, it starts in our homes. It starts in our homes. As I was saying on the recording, we released a recording, and I was asked about this work. And again, we like to talk about the prophet and all of this heavy stuff, but don't let the heavy stuff and the high stuff and the metaphysics and the ontology bring you to forget that he also swept floors, that he also played with his wives, that he also went to the store for his wives, that he was merciful to his children, that he was kind to the elderly, that he wasn't arrogant, that he was patient, that when under affliction, he called on God in all circumstances, that he prayed throughout the hours of the night and throughout the day. As his wives were asked, how was he like? He spent his time in service to his family. Let us not forget that, because the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of God, or another way to put it, the work to cultivate the garden begins in my soul, then it goes to my family. Then it goes to my community. And if we become a people committed to that, by virtue of the circumstance that we are in, one world fading into one world dead and almost gone, a new world of conscious human beings rising. We're not the living dead. In our homes, in our institutions, in our work, we should be having as an aim to produce the future leadership for this society. Just like the Muslims inherited the Byzantine Empire, just like the Muslims inherited the Persian Empire, just like the Muslims inherited the Kingdom of Ghana in West Africa, and just like the Muslims inherited the Christian kingdoms of Spain. That's history. Just like the Turks inherited, it was Constantinople, named after Constantine. Now it's Istanbul because the rise or the conquering of the Turks in power. We should not separate our mission today from that legacy of al-Islam in the history of the world. We should not do that. But I'm saying in order for us, a part of us not doing that is that we can't live like we're eternal aliens. This is not we don't live here. We live here. And we're not anticipating a fall in terms of calamity. Believe me, the signs are present that if we rise up to the work, it will be a peaceful transfer. They're already recognizing that they can't carry this any further, and they need great help. So I'm going to conclude here. You know, thank you, Brother Hassan Sami. I appreciate your donation. I don't look at this when I I don't look at this when I speak. I keep it off, and I keep it off for these reasons. See, you all are missing the whole point. You all are talking about kafirs and Dajjal. See, you miss everything that I'm talking about. You miss everything that I'm talking about. You like the old folks used to say, you're holding up a quarter for a nickel. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad discussion is not the discussion I was having. My parents were in the Nation of Islam and they made the transition into al-Islam. That's what I was talking about. This is what I'm saying. Be careful of the devil. You may mean well. I don't know you, brother, or you brothers, or whoever it is, because I'm not reading in detail, but I can see it in your language. You're missing the point. And that's not what we're doing right now. The world is too serious for us. If any man was a kafir, that's between him and his Lord. Especially if they're not here. We're talking about the world. We're talking about the time and what must be done today. So you Muslims, you all have to stop that. You all get into arguments about little things, but the big job of al-Islam is not being done. That's what we're talking about. So please, but anyway, I pray Allah bless us all with an excellent evening. And inshallah, we will see you next time for the Quran in Society. Allah be with you. Assalamu alaikum.
We're going to break in there to take you back to the UN Security Council and listen to the state of Palestine speaking in the chamber.
And there is no right to annexation. This is what Israel is doing in Gaza. These are its war objectives. This is what the absence of a ceasefire is allowing it to continue doing. This full-fledged Israeli assault against the Palestinian people and the Palestinian land is about everything except the hostages. If the families of hostages can see that, how can anyone in this room claim otherwise? A ceasefire will allow to save lives, all lives. This was true a year ago. This is even more true today. A ceasefire doesn't resolve everything, but it is the first step towards resolving anything. And what is the answer of those who are still unwilling now, after all this death and destruction, not to call for an unconditional ceasefire? Is it to accept that the killing should continue until we resolve everything while we watch that we are resolving nothing? We heard over and over again statements in this chamber by all members without distinction about protection of civilians, about rejecting forcible displacement, about rejecting starving the Palestinian population, about rejecting annexation, about rejecting wanton destruction, about rejecting regional escalation. Everyone around this table agreed on these objectives, and yet here we are. 44,000 Palestinians killed. This is those who are accounted for. Many more are not accounted for. One day we will retrieve them in mass graves under the rubbles, and we will discover the real numbers of this horror. And there will be many that we will never retrieve. Famine that is looming all over Gaza, that is a reality in northern Gaza. 2 million people displaced, still hunted even when they are in tents. Total destruction of Gaza and all the requirements of life in it. And war on Lebanon, its people and its sovereignty. What does it mean to proclaim all these principles, we reject, we reject, we reject, and then shield Israel of the consequences of its actions, thus allowing it to do exactly what we're asking it to stop doing? Madam President, the world should not grow accustomed to the death of Palestinians, to seeing Palestinian children starving, to seeing mothers carrying their children from one place to another, forcibly displaced. They should not get accustomed to seeing journalists killed and humanitarians killed, to see Palestinians detained, abducted, carried on trucks to go be tortured, sexually abused, and raped. The fact we are Palestinians does not make that less shocking or less outrageous. Maybe for some we have the wrong nationality, the wrong faith, the wrong skin color. But we are humans, and we should be treated as such. Is there a UN charter for Israel that is different from the charter you all have? Tell us. Is there an international law for them, an international law for us? Do they have the right to kill, and the only right we have is to die? What the hell does Israel need to do more for this council to act under Chapter 7? What more can they do for this council to act under Chapter 7? Or will this council be the last place on earth that cannot recognize a threat to peace when they see it? When it is so glaring, so undeniable? You are witnessing the attempt to annihilate a nation, destroy a nation. It is not even hidden, it is in plain sight. And yet the very tools designed to respond to these situations are not being used. So which one is it? Are Palestinian lives not worth saving? Or does Israel have a license to kill? Can this council only adopt resolutions and then witness their blatant breach? This self-inflicted powerlessness has to stop. And like Algeria, we repeat, the resolutions of this council are binding. Their role is to be enforced. Their role is to change reality, not to record violations for history's purposes and then allow them to continue. Had diplomatic efforts succeeded, we would not be here. We recognize all the efforts that were done, all the diplomatic efforts that were conducted. And yet, we have to recognize children are still starving in Gaza. Families are being killed. Communities are being obliterated. Had these efforts succeeded, we would not be here. But what we cannot accept is that Israel has a veto that blocks any attempts to put an end to this war, especially when we know what are its true intentions. Madam President, many peoples, many governments around the world are saying the right things and trying to do the right things. And we have here to express our gratitude to the E10 for their relentless efforts for over a year now. And in the recent month, we all were hoping that 2735 would lead to a ceasefire. And we can discuss who is responsible for that ceasefire not occurring. For us, it is pretty clear that Israel had never an intention to accept a ceasefire and has found every reason not to have a ceasefire. We thank Guyana for its efforts in coordinating the E10 initiative. We thank all of those who have voted in favor of this resolution, and we agree with Malta and with Algeria. This is the bare minimum. This is the bare minimum that morality, humanity, legality would plead for. And this bare minimum, even this bare minimum, was vetoed. I truly do not understand, and you're saying we cannot be for an unconditional ceasefire. What that means in effect now is that we are for a war. You're saying we cannot be for an unconditional ceasefire that does not release the hostages. Is this war releasing the hostages? Is it even trying to release the hostages? So what does it mean? We accept this war that is killing hostages and that is killing, maiming, terrorizing, destroying an entire nation. When is it enough? When is it the point where we say, no, we mean ceasefire now, now. We will not allow you to not listen to us, to ignore us, to insult us, to play games with us. This resolution is trying to restore life, to save lives. It's not a dangerous message. The draft resolution is not a dangerous message. This veto is a dangerous message to Israel that it can continue executing its plans, the very plans you oppose. And the messages we send do matter. And that is the wrong message at the worst possible time. Israel is responsible for the Palestinian civilians it kills. It cannot be absolved of that responsibility. It is killing them purposefully, deliberately, repeatedly, massively. It is starving them on purpose. Nobody can deny it. We sat in this room, we heard every UN agency, every testimony, every NGO, Palestinian, Israeli, international, saying the same things. This is by design. What does it mean that release of the hostages should be unconditional? This is what the Council has said repeatedly now for a year. Release of hostages should be unconditional. But stopping killing Palestinians is conditional? There are acceptable conditions to stop the mass killing of Palestinians? There's 100 Israeli hostages, and there's 2 million Palestinians in Gaza. 2 million Palestinians in Gaza. They deserve better. They deserve respect for their lives, for their suffering. Israel will always claim conditions have not been met because its plans require it to continue this war, to annex the land and destroy the people. And therefore, we can no longer accept its conditions. 14 months, and we are still debating if a genocide must be stopped. There's no justification whatsoever for vetoing a resolution trying to stop atrocities. No justification for that. Madam President, one day someone will dig up these meetings, the records of them, will see us pleading for the lives of our people over and over and over and over again. And they will try to understand why our calls were not heeded. They will look at the people who sat around this table and spoke and addressed you from all over the world to call on the Council to take action. They will read what everybody here has said. And then they will wonder how a genocide displayed on TVs known to the whole world was able to continue for this long. They will wonder if the whole world is against the mass killing, against the displacement, against the starvation, against the annexation, how come they all occurred? It is because we are allowed to speak about the rules, but not to enforce them. Because we can regret and reject, but not act. There are many states now stepping up to change this reality. We call on all states and all peoples to stand for life, for freedom, and for peace. We are out of time. We repeat, we are against harming any civilians. And we have more than our share of grievances. We could have sat here and tried to justify harming civilians. We never did, not one day. And we're still sitting here after tens of thousands of our people have been killed. Many have been detained. All have been traumatized. All have been displaced. We have many reasons to say otherwise, and yet we remain steadfast. There is no reason to harm civilians, regardless of their nationality, their origin, regardless of the circumstances. But our civilians, what about our civilians? They are worthy of protection. Their lives should be saved. People cannot sit and demand Palestinian pacifism under all circumstances and enable Israeli militarism. That cannot be done. Either you believe violence is an impasse, you believe there are no military solutions, and then you act for peaceful ones and reject military ones, or you let it be military. We are for a peaceful path. Even after all that has happened, we are for a peaceful path. Help us chart it, not block it. Stop them. Help us. You would be helping Palestinians and Israelis in our region and the world. Madam President, there is a world out there where Palestinian children are able to grow. We are not born to be occupied and killed and displaced. That's not our destiny, that's not our fate. There is a world where we could live and grow and see our children grow with no occupation, no bombs, no tents, no settlements, no walls, no military checkpoints, no prisons, no constant humiliation, no oppression, no house demolished, no amputations, no pain and no agony. That world can exist today if we were to act. And the fact we are not means that many, many more Palestinians will suffer and others will suffer. We are trying to get there. We are trying to find a path that leads us there, to freedom, to life, and to peace. That should be our common objective. There is a world where there's no war in the Middle East, where Palestinians and Israeli civilians go about their lives, where maybe they can look confidently towards the future and even envisage more bridges between them, where our region unleashes its true and full potential for the benefit of all states and all peoples. It's this future that is being destroyed before our very eyes. And the entire Palestinian civilian population is the primary victim. Madam President, we call on the General Assembly to uphold the responsibilities that the Council has failed to uphold owing to the US veto. We call on all states to use all available tools to stop the massacres. What this resolution was calling for is an unconditional end to massacres, and that is always worth supporting.
Greetings, we're there with you. The pain and the hardship of my family, my brothers, my sisters in Palestine. The pain. Each time the United Nations sit, there are many countries, many ministers that speaks about humanity, about the saving of lives, and about ceasing fire and saving life and respecting life. But this continuing vetoing by one country and their friends, which would abstain, what they call their allies, it's not justified. And then we hear them quick to enforce sanctions on countries that have their sovereignty and are capable of taking care of themselves, but too they have bank accounts across the earth. They will contact their allies about their plan. So when they enforce sanctions, it means that whatever capital, economics you have outside of your own country is now locked off. Whatever asset you have and whatever produce you're accustomed receiving from others, sanctions prohibit them and fright prohibit them from servicing or exchanging with some countries. We have seen the hypocrisy who have heard the evil, and we have witnessed ourselves as human beings on this earth protesting, and were threatened, have been threatened, and are still threatened with loss of employment, loss of services, and being deported, especially those students. We have seen the change, and we have seen what has been hidden for so long from us. We have seen. But my take and my doings is to say to African peoples that says that this Palestinian situation issue doesn't have nothing to do with them. How wrong you are. And may God prohibit anything like that to happen to us. Seriously. We've been assassinated. We've been deported. We've been imprisoned. We've been killed. Assassination means the same. We've been placed in exile. So many of us from the continent up to now, and in the Caribbean, and in the South Americas. That's what's happened to us as African peoples. But we're witnessing, we have witnessed, and we're witnessing some justifications by racist governments, which are people, international racist governments. That's what we're watching. That's what we're listening to. And we're watching how words are used by such people to demonize and demagogue other peoples. So those people who are not really listening with both ears and paying attention, they would feel that those words that's been uttered are true. It started off with the most gruesome lies. Children heads being severed, children being placed in ovens, and no one is asking, where's these ovens? And where's these bodies? But when you work on the sentiment of people and you're consistent, you make a lie into a truth and a truth into a lie. It is possible. Those of us who have learned or studied sociology and psychology, we know that. And being repetitive in something, you will convince even the deaf. And these people from Europe, they're good at it. They're being well trained. I wouldn't use the term brainwash, but they're very, very, very extraordinarily good at it. Some years ago, I said, if the Muslims want to see or experience what happens, go to the European Union and witness for yourselves, and then get some training on how to cry. And this general for the IDF, him and his colleagues were constantly in Europe. And they always gave reports pertaining to the Palestinian peoples. and all the things that they're doing to help them. But the Palestinian people were so barbaric, and they were terrorists and all sorts. Yeah? But they always finish up crying, shedding tears. And if there is 50 people, which is usually about 300 plus, many of them, because, it's emotional, they would also start wiping their eyes and blowing their noses and washing their faces with the water that is in front of them. I witnessed these things. And I say to our people, the African people, we have to learn how to cry in public. And people think I'm stupid. All the wrongs that these people are doing, all the ministers across Europe supports them. Every one of them. And they know what they're doing is wrong. But they support them. Such injustice. It's so painful. And some of you are saying, hogwash. Listen, check the universities, check the colleges. Ask your sons and daughters, neighbors, friends, what happened to such and such. Just ask them. You'll see that many of them are being kicked off their courses. And those who are over here on international scholarship, they were sent back. It's not a joke. It's a serious thing. And many persons, peoples, have lost their jobs. They haven't received reduction in hours. They've lost their jobs. Listen to the radios tomorrow. Now the ICC has issued warrants. And you see that the anti-Semitic brigade, they be out there. But please, brothers and sisters, don't pick up your phones and get involved. Listen. You learn a lot. Just listen. Don't participate. Because some of them stations will be set up to entrap others. But if we stay and listen, you'll see that the anti-Semitic brigade would be out. And some people have got to watch and be very careful what they say. Because before they've even switched their phone off or hang up, there'll be a rack-a-tack-tack on their door if they're inside their homes. And they'll be charged with inciting anti-Semitic behaviors and so forth and so forth. These are some serious troubled times. So I started with morals, make people understand that Al-Islam is not some argus shop about who is this Jesus that we the Muslims cannot verify, and about Aisha, and nothing about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We should just shut that down. That's not dawah. That's people who have emotional problems and egotistic problems. Seriously. Huh? And those people who are running popcasts or whatever it is, they want to up their numbers and so forth. And we're falling into some ignominious traps. Al-Islam is about living. It's not about a competition. How much I know and how much you don't know and who this person is. It's not. It's about living. We want to stop that. And some of these imams, you want to be speaking to the people and properly. You want to control the people, accept leadership and control the people. They're doing wrong. We are doing wrong. Understand? Seriously. Right? So, our morals and our principles in society, we should be the beacon light. There's more non-Muslim, non-Islamic faith people that been demonstrating than us. Because we're human. So the point I'm making, could you imagine if we were radiating the life of our prophet in society through the way we live and we conduct ourselves and our affairs? These governments could not stand it. So there's a lot of examples that we should take from what has happened or what is happening. But I don't want to be one of those who some years down the road there'll be some dissertation here, there, and everywhere, and questions be asked like, what did those people do? Why didn't someone stop this? And I keep referring to the Bosnia situation and the Ethiopian situation with Italy. I don't know what climate we're in. I don't know what cycle we're in. I don't know what equinox. I don't know nothing about the pagan stuff in relation to where we are, where they are right now, because there's always a cycle. And they just follow some rituals of some sort. And when that time or season is past, it seems that they wake up. Because some of those same people will start shedding tears and be apologetic and be trying to do, and not try and be doing a lot of things to help the suffering peoples. Watch and see. I don't know which day of the week, no one knows really, that they took away all the lorries or they emptied the lorries. So there's no food stock to give to the Palestinian peoples. It was there, but it was refused by the IDF, by the president of that, prime minister of that country. And now the UN recognized some part this week that out of 150 containers or lorries or what shipment, there were only 10 or 100 or 90 something. It's appalling. The people has not been allowed to have food and water, and it's seriously. And these are the people that told us and our children, told us and our parents and taught us. Well, they did not teach us. They got it on the curriculum. And we know the term never again. But we're also told that they work with Joshua in the Bible. And they're attributing, after Musa alayhi salam has passed, that before he passed, but Joshua became the head man. But they're saying that God told Moses to tell Joshua to go to some city, some area where he's awarded this land to them. So when he visited, and I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again, because I saw it on a video not too long ago. Someone has put it up there, very, very good documentary, and it wasn't a Muslim. But Joshua came back, and this is before Moses died, because Moses wasn't supposed to step across someplace. But anyway, he told him that the place is inhabited. And at some point in time, Moses told him that he needs to take fighting people, arm well, and kill everything that's down there. Now, if you follow the Moses steps, Moses was the redeemer. Moses meant to be the person that helped these people. Moses is a person that was raised by Pharaoh or the Egyptians. Moses is a person that was educated. Moses is a person that his life was saved from Pilate or some person that was looking for the promised children and everything, and he was saved because his mother put him in the Nile and right and so forth. But he pleaded, allegedly, he pleaded on the behalf of God to rescue, go into exile become immigrants and migrate from Egypt. So he had a lot of work to do in bringing that to fruition, which meant he had a lot of consultation with the Pharaoh or the king. So this is Moses. Then he reached a space where he couldn't cross. And the people, this was another test, but the people were scared and so forth. And the Red Sea was parted. But you have to go over there and see, you know what I mean? Because everything that we were told really in school, the geography is upside down, wrong side round and everything else and so forth. So they're doing some fiction, but the reality is there. And this is the same Moses. So for them to say that Moses said to Joshua, take the strong men, well armed and so forth, and erase, delete everything that you find on the land, because that land is what God wants us to have. So whatever is there right now, and they're saying that the list was everything. And they name men, women, children, etc., etc. And I'm saying, yo, no. Why you, right? So they don't have no faith and fear of God. Because they're saying that God instruct them to do such. And Moses is telling Joshua that that's what God has told him to do. But I'm not I'm not supposed to go there. This is where we're gonna part ways and everything. My time has come. You know what I mean? You know the Star Trek, beam me up Scotty and blah blah blah. So anyway, this is their thing. So when that person showed that documentary from 1880 up to 1897, these Ashkenazi Zionist people across Europe been plotting a thing, and they embraced, I knew that though from my history lessons, they embraced what is called Judaism. So that's why they use excerpts from the Bible, and they're not knowing much of the Torah at all. Begin and all these others, and those that dealt with the Belfort arrangements and everything, the curriculum that they followed and they applied to was biblical, was Bible. Wasn't no Torah. So hence me saying to my brethren and sisterins, and especially us here in the diaspora, but particularly my brethren and sisterins that are Rastafari, why the hell wanna give up the Lion of Judah? Listen, for King James. Who did that? How did King James become something? Who decided to eat or drink this water? Because you can't say Marcus Garvey double standard the thing. Marcus Garvey said, look to Africa for the crowning. And the crowning was Ethiopia and was the Lion of Judah. So this man here now, him take Joshua, him take the Bible, and then work with parts of the Bible to validate themselves. Because they were like the rest of the European, were all pagans and they all have their different things. But they embrace what was generally called around Germany and England and France, Judaism. But nobody never had no grasp of the thing. But they embraced it, they adopted it. So everything that you see them look like and do, that's their own. That's not resemblance of Falashas, Abyssinians. It is not. And that's not remnants of Bani Israel. But the Muslims get so headstrong, I don't know. The Muslims behave like they're suffering from delinquency or something. Because we're explicitly told about Bani Israel and who they are. And not so much who they are, because they are among us. But what their virtues are. And how much respect and honor and dignity we should see of them and give unto them. Bani Israel. And among them, there are some that are stiff-necked because they want to continue, they want to live or exemplify a particular style that God did not Allah did not ordain for them. And they're the ones that were guilty of shredding the Torah and the commandments, etc. So if we follow Isa alayhi salam, and we accept Isa alayhi salam and Musa alayhi salam and the Prophet sallallahu alayhi salam and Bani Israel, then a lot of this stuff here would not be in, this other distortion would not be in the seat of education, or it'd be probably street conversation. But we have not informed the people. So by the time people like me and other people them turn up now, and Brother Ahmad did that, and so forth, out of 1 billion, it's a very small number, but we're not within the curriculum and we're not within the national education of any given place. I don't know what the Ottoman were doing and what were their intellectual or educational contributions and their curriculum were. I know that they turned us into eunuchs. There's a lot of mystifying problems. And it's caused by Muslims. A lot of the misdirections and everything is caused by us. We're not the ones that's inflicting it, but we're the ones that have not revealed that which should have been revealed and we were charged to do. We haven't done that. We didn't do that, and now we're in what we didn't reap, now we want to we're in problems. And we're the ones that's guilty. How much of us is going to accept that? We're guilty. And the lecture here tonight, no one wants to hear us because we're too late in the day. The institutions of learning across the world, we're late in the day. They don't want to hear nothing. And it's not that we don't have Professor Ahmed, Professor Saleh, Professor Abdullah. It's not that we don't have this. But we're not conveying the truth to the people. We're not conveying the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ to the people. We haven't done it and we ain't doing it. We're guilty, brothers. And our brothers and sisters, elders in Palestine, are being ill-treated, murdered, because of us as well, you know. Because look at us. Are we there helping them? What is Arabia doing with their oil? Who have they sanctioned? The whole of that region hasn't sanctioned nobody. They're still getting their money. They're still distributing their oil, etc., etc. And those who have gone into plain amusement and big time, hey, everything is normal. Everything is normal. The boxing, the fashion shows, the writing for certain rules of engagement and alcohols and all kinds of filth, and how they're creating restriction zones and everything. All these things are happening. So what does it take? You want to go back to the Crusades so then you can visualize 3 feet of flowing, 3 feet deep of flowing blood? Is that what it is? Or is it that you're saying this is Harry Potter? I don't know. Something's wrong here. Because now, which nation, which country is going to enforce the warrant? Because now y'all are scared of America already. And England. So if you wasn't living a filthy life, why are you afraid? Not one day sanction of oil. Not one day, not 1 hour. Never mind a day, not 1 hour. It's a serious thing. So, my brethren and sisters, you know what I mean? We're deep in a free thing. I have to I set it yesterday, which is what? Repatriation. Yeah, what happened to my eyes? My eyes I try to do something to me. You know? Repatriation. Yo, Burning Spirit, where you there? Did I interfere with something? So we have to wake up and we have to teach. We have to teach. So I'm going to be one of them ones that spearhead repatriation because we are big and Queen Elizabeth gone. We left it too long. Charles, I got to tell us him don't know that he was this much old at the time of the time. You understand? Serious thing. So, take a joke. And, you know what I mean? And he's actually with us, you know. But guess what? He's going to have to do what the class tell him to do. Because, you know what I mean? He must set a standard for him children. So, if him waver, you know what I mean, they will disband the whole monarchy and everything. You understand? Oh, you all don't pay attention. So may I say repatriation. I didn't want to play no sound on this one, you know, but yo, it's education. Come here. You can't do nothing better than me. I don't care what one I want to try to say. Come here. And my head is not big enough, so it will never get no bigger.
Repatriation, repatriation, repatriation. No mean that you run go Africa. Go, I figure scare where your brother. Go, I figure run where your sister. Go. One skillful one in Africa. One skillful one in Africa. Builder in Africa. Builder in Africa. Repatriation. 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 All the states of Africa should come together, open the gate of Africa. living here in Africa. Repatriation, repatriation, repatriation.
See, man called Winston Rodney, Burning Spear. I don't know if him gone home back yet, you know, because he was in Kenya and Tanzania, all about Africa, you know. Yeah, man, the spear. So repatriation, you know, came about through Rastafari. Yeah, all across the Caribbean and the South Americas and thing, you know. And then someone come and just push this thing inside there now. And it's cool still, you know, reparation, but everybody just, hey, you want to make a big money, you know, and you ask a person about repatriation, and them say what that? You see, you understand, right? Because are we that? So a lot of ones have gone under, right? Waiting for things to be put in place and, you know, negotiations and everything. And ones to travel, you know, educate themselves and then travel and everything and make life on the motherland. By now, there will be so much of us, and we would have some schools here where we learn language and everything, mother tongue. It didn't happen. Didn't happen. So for them ones that got to turn around and say, yo, ease off, man, shut your mouth and everything. Yeah? Come tell me that, no. RUZ, 12 Tribes of Israel. See? So if you never did hear them before, yeah? Ask one them. See? If you never go to the house, them celebration, you could say you never hear this before. I never got 12 tribe dance them and they say you never hear this before. You lie. But if you didn't go before, I never got on a meeting and everything, then you're the one that miss. But you can't tell me, say, close it. A lie you want to tell. Yeah? Because you find yourself falling short and you talk about King James and re, and re. Stop that, man. Stop it. You understand? Stop it. Make yourself ignorant. Come here. Oh, we want, hey, Marcia, not Marcia, Aisha, come here. hold up. So we're going to give another, the Lion of Judah. Yeah, guidance. Listen good and listen carefully, you know. Listen keenly, man. It's going to make you remember so much things. You might start, you might have fall down, so sit down. If you are sit down already, stay sitting. If you are stand up, sit down. Yeah, come here. Easy. So you say what? You said that you weren't an RUZ member yet, and you say you didn't know about 12 tribes of Israel yet. You lie, you tell, man. Lie, you tell. So when you run up your gum so much about something, you shouldn't be saying nothing. So now you can, if you get up now, you want to jump out and everything, be careful in the star. You understand? Because you're not a young boy again. Yeah, I mean, all of you. You understand? And daughter, don't blame me if him fall down and hurt himself, you know. Relax, man. Award, now you remember it. What you remember? You remember Mortimer Planner? What you remember? Tell me now. Yeah, joke, man. You remember something, innit? You remember something. See if you remember this.
The 10 Commandments of man given to a man through the inspiration of I, Prince Buster.
The 10 Commandments of woman given to man by me, Princess Buster. Listen, darling Prince, now that I have heard your 10 Commandments, will you please listen to mine? Commandment 1. Thou shalt have no other woman but me. 2. Thou...
Easy. Your man say, what? You know what I say? You have all them things on your sleep? No, I'm not on your sleep. Our soul is creative. Very, very creative, man. We Father bright, you know. Very well creative. So we have say guidance with God, you know. You understand? Because sometimes you have pain and everything, you know. It's just some fun, laughter can give us the massage and the release that we need. And that's what I do most of the time. Seriously. So when you see me, I laugh. I don't laugh at nobody, no. I laugh with myself. You understand? I have to protect myself from my mother giving me one slap with my head back. You understand? I will try bring Marcia and Aisha to a level, you know what I mean, appreciate me and realize the thing that I go through. Because sometimes I make them bored, you know what I mean, I keep trying to tell them, say, we used to walk this way and walk that way and just this way. You understand? And behave like some is the only historian in the world. It become too monotonous and everything. You understand me? So it's good to be able to flex yourself like that and, you know what I mean, don't stress out and everything. You understand? But the man them who said that them a work with all black man of England and, you know, the black king and all them things. Relax your mind, boy. I tell you. And the other ones them will say King James and this and that. And you give up the flash of them, you give up the Lion of Judah, and you give up Solomon, Lay Salam, you give up Dawood. You give up a whole heap of things, you know. You understand? And then you're supposed to be looking for the book of the seven seals they are, right? And it has come, and it's in your midst for so long, and so forth, and you refuse. It's not that you can't read, you just refuse. And then you follow some people with their ignorance, which was meant to distract us and everything. And then you follow these people that follow Marcus Garvey, which is all right, but it's still all wrong because Garvey wanted us to be in Africa. So what happened? And he might create the transportation for us to be going there and the transportation for us to be trading, and none of those things have manifested. You see? So don't think, say, I am wrong, you know. You understand? Because I'm not trying to be something that I am not. I'm just saying that none of these things have materialized. Trust. So if you check all of us that's embraced Islam in the diaspora, ask us what we did, what we have done, what did we do, and what are we doing, and everything. And you see that we have made leaps and bounds. Yeah? And our families, you understand, is Islamic. You know what I mean? Which means our wives, and our children, and we are living and practicing the deen of Al-Islam. When I work with the Nation of Islam, something, you know, and we're having to read and learn a language and develop a tongue and a twist and all these things to be able to pronounce and understand what it is that we're pronouncing. Yeah, do you understand the difficulties of a language? Because even if you pronounce a word and you don't know what the word means, the implication of the word, and how to context, nothing has happened yet, you know. You understand? And we have accomplished these things. So stop fooling yourselves. You understand? Stop fooling yourselves, right? And you haven't even run across Ethiopia and sit down in a classroom either. So stop it. Leave us alone. Ring my bell. Guidance are gone. I have to get them something off my chest because some people that just keep throwing stones all the time, saying this, saying that. And what you're saying is all right, but it's all wrong. You understand? It's all wrong. Ask us some questions. How did you all do that? You understand? And now so much things are being found being uncovered in Sierra Leone and everything. We are the ones that can read, you know. We never sit down and wait for somebody to tell us some gibberish and everything. We are reading, see? And we know what we're reading. We're translating what we're reading into English, right? You understand? My family particularly is Swahili and Amharic plus the Arabic. So, I've got a full pack. You understand? So stop fooling yourselves. And y'all sit out there and listening to Robin Walker with some new brother and everything. And they're saying things that ain't actually factual. Seriously, because them don't know Arabic and they're not dealing with scholars of the Arabic because them said that we would say this and we would say that. And so, no, that's so wrong. You understand? And what is being sorted there in Sierra Leone and everything, listen, there's nothing greater than what we've uncovered. Nothing. Nothing, period. So when someone come try to say that some Arab did this, no, they're lying. They're lying. And we did it. You understand? And come say, right? So they're lying. The greatest thing is that we've headed off the French and all these European people, so our stuff ain't stuck in them with them in their halls of records and their museums and everything. We are the ones that's taking care. We're the ones that's deciphering. We're the ones that's making notes. We're the ones that's translating, right? So the future is going to be bright for us, if you know what I mean? Because many, like me, many of us, we're not young boys and young women again. So we've got lots of work to do, and we have to take care of our health, and we have to just do things. We can't keep saying we're going to do. We have to do before something do us. So our grandchildren, them, they will start off like boat. Them not waiting for someone to go on the march. No. Right? We will set them on the right track. Siratu Mustaqim. You understand? No one will come now and distract them. You see? And we're talking about knowledge. We're talking about our foreparents. Right? Knowledge. We're talking about science. We're talking about mathematics. We're talking about biology. You understand? Listen here. Stop with the nonsense, man. Right? And Robert Walker, we love him, you know. But you see, some of your people, they want to make money and everything. I want to say anything to Rati to get popularity among people. No. If you're a teacher and you believe what you're doing and you only get 3 students, all good. All good. Huh? Just do what you do. Teach. But if you're wait to teach because you want 150 and all that, nah, you're egotistic nonsense person. You understand? In all the years that me do basketball as a side, right, I've never put up a leaflet and everything. People just tell people what me do. And people come see what me do and see the results of different peoples and so on. But when sometimes them come, there's only two persons or 3 persons. They're my assistant or my son and me. Yeah? And I would run a 3-hour session, said speed. And y'all know what I'm saying, you know. Because when I'm too busy develop, you came out of Shebeen. I did not come out of Shebeen. And our community that we grew up is, we did not, our parents, them never allow Shebeens them to be running. I'm telling you, they did not allow Shebeens to be running. See? So we never come up with a Shebeen mentality and all of that nonsense. So guidance. If you don't like it, me not care.
Now you said you're through with me, but darling, you can set your little heart free. Even though you said you'd stick by me, oh darling, you can set your little heart free. I know my love was true, and baby, I was depending on you. But now you broke the golden rule. You made yourself look like a big damn fool. I thought you were mine.
So we have say guidance, man. My daughter just called me. I'm going to pick up the phone. You see? So we have say guidance, man. That's the young Dennis Emmanuel Brown. Yo, Winston. Islington. All this salad power.
Whoa, whoa. Whoa, whoa. From me palm me never sit. Ram goat liver make malish water. Look where me live fi sit. Ram goat liver make malish water. Whoa, whoa. From me palm me never hear. Ram goat liver make malish water. Not at all. But stop me never sit. Ram goat liver make malish water. Me born a country, me go a country, but stop me never.
Sin, yes, Winston, Sellard Poor Man, easy guidance, you gone.